the First Minister was speaking in Chamber yesterday, the Treasury announced that money would be made available to the devolved governments, parliaments, to mitigate the impact of new measures. How much new money is going to be made available, and is it new money?
So there was an announcement made by the UK Treasury, and my understanding of that at the moment is that it's going to be an advance on the consequentials that are coming through. Now, the exact details of that are still not available for me to see.
So that doesn't sound like new money. The Scottish Secretary has said that the money will come on top of additional funds given to the Scottish Government to tackle COVID. Nicola Sturgeon, however, says that it is an advance and therefore it's not new cash.
So as I said earlier, my understanding is that this is going to be an advance of money given to immediately put us in a position to roll out better JAGs, to roll out better vaccinations and do it quicker. And the reason for that is because we need to be doing more as quickly as possible to be able to.
You can understand why it's important, though, as to whether this is new money or not, because anything the Scottish Government decides to spend on mitigating COVID restrictions or spending on boosters will then have to come off budgets later on down the line. They would say they don't have a finite. They have a finite pot.
I think we all have a finite pot, and that we need to understand the economy is very important because it pays for our public services, it pays for us in the NHS.
Well, indeed, that's why it's important to know whether or not this is new money.
Yes, so my understanding is that this is an advance on money that is coming through, and it's to be spent looking to try to improve our position, especially when it comes to getting JAGs into people's arms. And actually, a very important point that I'd like to make here is there's a slight difference between the symptoms people get at the moment. And I think this is really important that we get this out there. There is a slight difference between the symptoms. So right now, headache and runny nose is the most common cause of symptoms, but that also could be a cough, that could be a cold or flu. Scratchy sore throat, dry cough, tiredness, muscle ache, night sweats. Look, if you get those symptoms, they're not classical symptoms for COVID. Get yourself daily LFTs, maybe even a PCR, because they're different symptoms that we're seeing with Omicron.
Just before we let you go this morning, Dr Gulhane, almost 100 Conservative MPs voted against the Prime Minister's plan to introduce COVID passes in England. Those passes will go ahead anyway with the support of Labour. What does that say about Boris Johnson's authority and perhaps his ability to introduce stricter COVID restrictions later on down the line?
99 MPs plus ones who have abstained because the importance of it's all about the COVID passport. That's what people are upset about. That's what MPs are upset about. That's what the Scottish Conservatives have always said is not a position. It's a blunt tool that doesn't actually do what we need it to do, and that is what people are upset about. And we need to be absolutely clear that the COVID passport
does it limit the Prime Minister's ability to introduce further restrictions later on down the line if he can't get this past his own backbench MPs?
No, I don't think this limits the Prime Minister's ability. We need to see what happens to the Omicron variant, and we need to see how things progress as to what measures are required. The reason for this happening, for 99 MPs voting against, is because of the COVID passport, which, as I say, is a blunt tool which doesn't do what we want it to do. And that's why, not because of restrictions, because we all accept that at the moment restrictions are required, and we all accept that restrictions might be needed in the future. Okay. Tighter restrictions might be needed in the future, but we need to see through the data and the evidence that comes.
Dr Sandesh Gulhane, the Scottish Conservatives Health spokesperson, thank you very much indeed.